welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kendra Mattingly. I am the author of Unhooked, 40 Days to Breaking the Chains of Addiction. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the power of our beliefs and how our emotions create our physical ailments in our bodies. So when I became pregnant, my body reacted in a way of it not understanding what was happening. It was almost like I was like having, like I had a cancer or something. I was constantly ill. And then when I had my child and recovered, I never truly like ever got my energy back. And I just knew something was really wrong. And I started to have all of these fears and thinking that I was going to die young, and all of these, thoughts and beliefs that were constantly running through my head. And then the doctors were running all of these tests, and it happened when I fell asleep on a Wednesday and didn't wake up until Sunday, that the doctors started to really seriously look into what was going on with me. And I ended up being diagnosed with lupus. And instead of doing my research and finding out, what lupus truly is, instead, I just kept calling in all of these experiences where I would meet people and they would just randomly tell me a story about so-and-so who just died of lupus, or their mother who just died of lupus, or whatever the case may be. So I took it as a death sentence, and I started to basically tell my body that I was dying. And so we have to be so careful with the stories that we're telling ourselves, because our body believes us. And so that is why, the power of positive thinking and affirmations, that is a real thing. It depends on the level in which you truly believe it. And so it's better to find an affirmation that is closer to the vibrational frequency that you can actually believe, than to tell yourself you love yourself every single day when really the vibration inside is that you don't. So basically, I started on this descent into hell, and every single day I had excruciating pain throughout my body, and it was painful to just, get up and experience life. And I'm sure some of you can relate to basically having to be on medication in order to just function in life without pain. And so the doctors put me on a pretty heavy dose of pain medicine. And then I don't really remember what came first, if it was the pain medicine or the anxiety medicine. But when the anxiety attacks, after I had gotten out of a very abusive relationship, I would just have these spontaneous panic attacks where like I wouldn't even know what the trigger was. I would just start hyperventilating. This one time I was working as a waitress, and I don't even know what it was that triggered me. And I walked into the back and I passed out and was like hyperventilating. And so this terrified me. It made me feel like I was completely powerless to even control my own body or to know what was happening with me. And so the doctors, they advised me to carry anxiety medication with me all of the time. And so I can remember this one day I was at lunch with my grandmother and my daughter, and I couldn't even hold my eyes open. And I was just like, these doctors have me like so high right now. And I don't want to be high. I just don't want to be in pain. And and so it was just like one thing after another that just sent me into this deep depression. And then my kidneys started failing. And I went to the hospital, and they ended up putting a tube down my throat, and I had IVs everywhere. I was in there for a couple of days, and I had hypoplastic kidney syndrome. And so the doctors advised me to take this medication that they could give me that would save my kidneys. But they told me that I would be on it for the rest of my life. And if I missed one dose, that I would be back there in the hospital, moments away from death. And so they gave me a little board to ride on. And I said, I don't want the medication. Like, let me die. And my mother came to the hospital, and the doctors took her outside to share the news with her that if I wasn't going to take this medication, that I was going to die. And it was a glass door, so I could see her. But when they told her, she let out this scream that hit this octave that was the exact same frequency of the sound that she let out the day that she told me my father died. And at that moment, I had this realization that she loves me. And this brilliant white light came inside of me and was like, you don't want to die. You just wanted to know she loves you. And at that moment, it was like that white light was like a scope inside of my body. I could see inside of my body. And I remember just bringing this white light to all of my organs and tissues, and then feeling my respirations come back. And I could feel that this white light was healing me. Although it didn't feel like it was a white light separated from me. It didn't feel like it was something that was happening to me. It was like a greater part of our consciousness came into me too. Because once I had that awareness of a problem is a problem half solved. And once you have awareness of a belief that is causing you illness, you can let it go and naturally start the healing process. And so I was working on all of my organs and tissues. I felt my respiration start to come back, and I pulled the tube out of my mouth, and my throat was so dry, as I had been having this tube down my throat for probably over a day by this time. And all of these machines were going off and beeping, and the doctors and nurses were coming into the room. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "It's okay. I healed myself. I can go home now." And they were like, "No, you are dying. You can't go home." And I'm like, "No, it's fine. I healed myself. I can go home now." And they're like, thinking that I had lost my mind. And the doctor said, "Well, I'm going to have to run some tests before I can release you." So he goes and he runs some tests. And when he came back, he was literally so dumbfounded. He was like dissociated out of his body. And he was like, "Well, it looks like we've made a mistake." Instead of saying, "You really did heal yourself," they were like, "We've made a mistake and you must have not actually been sick." And so they said that I wasn't even showing the markers for lupus anymore. And it was at that moment that I realized how powerful our beliefs, our thoughts, and our emotions, how all of our emotions are creating the physical ailments that we experience. And so, hello. So this started my healing journey. And I had this like deep fascination with wanting to understand this healing energy, um and it's amazing because that's where my healing journey began. And then right before I wrote the book, I ended up back in the hospital almost dying with a kidney infection that spread to my blood and created sepsis. And then it was in the hospital that I realized how important this book is for the people that are struggling, and that I needed to get it out. And so as soon as I got out of the hospital, I ended up writing the book, the meat and potatoes of the book, in 3 days. And it was 40 days until it went to the editor. And when it went to the editor, I got word that my brother committed suicide. And so when I got the book back, I put in a chapter for grief, because that is so much a part of addiction. But I think that it's important to understand that there's so many people that don't think that they are addicted to something. But like right now, I'm starting the 40-day fast. And so I'm on the first day of the water cleanse, the water fast. And even being on medication every day is a form of addiction. And so it's really a great experience for us all to start to look at the things that we're addicted to, and to start to fast, to not let those things have power over us, to not give our power away, to think that that's what's healing us or helping us, or relieving our pain. And to really see that we experience these things when we're disconnected from our creator, and when we're walking blindly in the dark without a light. And so on that note, I would like to open it up if anybody has any questions, or if anybody has ever experienced something like this. And yeah. What else? Yeah, that's where my healing journey began. And then it was like this rapid expansion of not being able to put myself in situations that I didn't believe in. And I had to live a more and more authentic. And yeah. I'm of the belief that it is your inner world that shapes your outer world, i.e., your body. Yeah, the inner world shapes everything. It's even what we see in our manifested world. And yeah, so did anybody have any questions? I have a friend who is addicted to meth since he was 14. He is now 25. I hope I can get some insights from your book. He just won't listen. Well, an addiction to meth it comes from trauma of not feeling good enough. And so meth comes in to give us a false sense of self-confidence. And so it's important to try to understand why your friend is using, and then offer support if they want to get clean, and then set healthy boundaries. But to really notice when you are judging, when you're wanting them to do something so that you feel better, because maybe it makes you feel sad or afraid or guilty. And instead we can go inside and really look at how is this person being addicted to this making me feel, and then heal that from within you instead of trying to force somebody. Because if you've ever tried to change or break a habit yourself, you know how difficult it is to change or break a habit. And why would anybody else do that for someone else? Like, you have to do it for yourself. You have to want it. If you don't want it, it's never going to last. Even if we're, trying to be a certain way for our partners or our parents, if that's not truly authentic to us, if that's not what we truly desire, then it's not going to stick. So it's really, truly important to allow that person to come to you. And a lot of the times addicts, they feel so unworthy of getting help. They feel so shameful that their life has become like this. They feel like they are just disposable. And so it's really important that we all focus on loving one another and setting healthy boundaries, not enabling somebody's addiction, but always making sure that they know that they're loved and supported and that help is out there. Was there any other questions? I've heard that anger goes into your gut and it makes your body sick. Those with cancer have so much anger, and the reason they are not healing. So suppressed anger creates pain, and stomach issues come from not being able to stomach this world. So you are experiencing a world where you feel powerless to change what you're seeing in the world around you, and that will create stomach issues. Cancer, I find that cancer has to do with being a people pleaser or being codependent. You often see people who talk about their family members who have died of cancer or who have had cancer, and they will say things like they were the nicest person, or they always put everybody else first. And cancer comes in as a choice point. It's literally like, do you want to die? And we get to choose yes or no. And I've worked with people. When you're working with cancer as a healer, you never want to focus on the cancer, because any type of energy work that you do can make it grow. And so you just want to see the person and basically not even see that part of their body that has the cancer, and then, do your energy work. And you see that person completely healed. But always, like, ask the question, if you have cancer, or if you know somebody that has cancer, do you want to live? And a lot of the times that anger comes from feeling like, why is this happening to me? This, like, I don't deserve this, like a victim, but not willing to do something to change it. And so it comes from this level of powerlessness. And powerlessness is the lowest vibrational frequency that we can experience before death. And so it's important for that anger to come to get us out of powerless. And then there's a natural dissolve of our emotions from anger to love. And if we allow for that natural process, we'll get there and we'll have awareness of what was creating our anger. But if we are afraid of our anger, if we're telling ourselves a story about it, then it's often hard to learn what it's there to teach us. Was there anything else? Do you think addiction can damage the soul? So I feel that addiction, just like suicide, is a spirit that, when we are feeling powerless, that spirit, demonic spirit or whatever, comes over and it offers us something. in exchange for being able to enter into our body. And then we have this spirit that's trying to basically take over. And what I've experienced is a person can drugs right now are it's like they've taken on a new form. It's like that energy, that demonic possession is so strong in some of these opioids. It's scary. But I have seen people who have used drugs and alcohol and everything under the sun for years and years, and then made that choice and that shift to cast that out and to choose a different identity. And then the work to heal what created the addiction or the reason to reach out begins. But I have seen people where when you look into their eyes, you can tell that their soul is no longer there. And so I do believe that some people can get to a point where it's like they're in slow suicide, and they can delve so deeply into that substance or behavior that they allow for their soul to leave and let this other thing inhabit their body. But I do feel like any person at any time can make a choice and heal completely. How do you balance taking medicine and letting nature take its course in healing you? So, that's a great question. So, it's like allow for, if you need an antibiotic, if you need a medication, then allow yourself to take that medication. But what I like to do is say a prayer. I will, hold up, like, say if I have to take, I try to take mostly natural, like I have a little bit of a cold right now. So taking things that are made with honey and stuff like that. But if I'm going to take like an ibuprofen or something like that, I will set the intention. I will ask the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit, to come in to me and to work with this medication to help it to do X, Y, and Z, whatever it needs to do. And to also bring to my awareness why this illness or pain or whatever the case may be has manifested, and allow that to heal you on multiple levels. And then to just notice anytime that we're giving our power away, and to be very mindful to not worship a false god, to not think that this medication's keeping me alive or I need this drink in order to unwind. Yeah. So are there any other questions, comments? Oh, thank you. I'm glad you guys are all joining me. What have you done to break any chains of any addictions that you have? Well, I've walked myself through this 40-day journey, and whenever I notice that I'm even engaging in a pattern too much, like say it's codependency, or every single day I'm waking up and I'm doing the same thing and it's becoming a pattern. Whenever I notice that, I stop, and I immediately stop whatever it is that I'm doing. And I focus on God, to be honest. Creator, God of your understanding. I go into prayer, meditation, listening to worship music really helps to realign my focus on God. And Yeah, it's so important that when you're allowing nature to heal you, or your body to heal you, or the Holy Spirit to heal you, it's important to look at your beliefs about it. If you are not going to the doctor because your religion tells you that you're not allowed to, or your belief system says that it's bad, and yet you're not getting better, or you're constantly worried about this this illness that has manifested and you're wondering what it could be, that thought alone is more detrimental than you actually going and, getting that second opinion or that medical advice or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And how I broke the chains with the pain medicine and the anxiety medication was, I finally just stopped believing that I needed it from the doctors, and I weaned myself off until I woke up one day and I no longer had that physical pain. There's like 20 million Americans have at least one addiction, yet only 10% of them receive treatment. You, Kendra, can be a good example of hope and a new beginning. Well, thank you so much. Wow, 21 million Americans? Wow. That's that's a lot. Would you suggest medications or natural healing? I would suggest that everybody find their own answer, but working with an herbalist, which I have an herbalist that I recommend in my book, working with an herbalist, or working more holistically, and first, having like a journal process, like I take you through in the book, to ask yourself the questions of why it's manifested, and to really work on that belief that with the God of your understanding, that you can heal completely, and really working on that. This is such a good discussion. Thank you so much. It's giving me an idea of how to help someone. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're so welcome. Yeah, just remember to love them, but not allow them to kill themselves in front of you. Set healthy boundaries, and always ask a person if they want help, because often people don't ask somebody that's struggling with an addiction if they want help. They just assume that they do, and then they project that onto them. And that doesn't feel good, to be told that you need something or that something's wrong with you. Instead, you come from a compassionate heart and say, I can see that you're struggling. Do you need some help? Can I support you? How can I love you more? How can I help you feel safer? And things of that nature. And try to get them to open up and discuss it. Sorry, I was kind of late watching your live stream. I was once a drug addict, and now I am 12 years clean. Good for you. I'm right there with you. So if nobody has any other questions, have you been like this, or there was a moment in your life and said, Kendra, you need help and need some changing? Well, I feel like I've had many of those experiences, and I've worked on personal development for the last 12 years. So it's important not to look at ourselves like there's something wrong with us, because that isn't healing or healthy, but to always be self-aware and to work on that process of self-actualization. So that's going to be a wrap for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Again, I invite you all to go get your copy of Unhooked, 40 Days to Breaking the Chains of Addiction. And I will see you all on Monday. Bye. Have a good weekend.